What's up, fanatics? So Flyers GM Daniel Briere swung for the fences. He didn't hit a home run, but he put the rest of the NHL on notice that the Flyers are coming. I'm Tim Clark, and you're listening to the Musings of a Sports Fanatic, a podcast found exclusively here at PennSports.live. So before we get to a little NHL to start the podcast, I want to give my usual shout out here to, there we go, give FeedSpot some applause. Check out FeedSpot. They've been kind enough to have me ranked in their top 20 on in Philly podcasts, I believe it is listed as. But you can go check out all kinds of different podcasts at FeedSpot and different cool stuff that you can find there. So give them a look. All right. So yeah, Briere made a run at Leo Carlson, going to be a superstar center for Anaheim. And I said in my column this week, I ranted about a few things that bugged me. The NHL and the NBA have caps, which I'm thrilled with. However, I don't understand them. There's so many different nuances to them. But Carlson was a guy that you were allowed to make an offer sheet to. So Briere said, you know what? We're going to throw 4 first rounds. What was it? 4 first round picks, 4 second round picks. Because in hockey, unless you're lucky enough to have that ping pong ball drop your way, there's no sure thing in the draft in the NHL. And so what did he care? He could have got years and years and years and years of Leo Carlson being a superstar for the Flyers, as opposed to these 4 draft picks that you're going to throw a dart on at, and maybe one of them pans out. So it was a great move by him. I just think since he's taken over, the Flyers have headed in a different direction. They beat the Pens in the first round of the playoffs this year. And I think he was putting people on notice that, look, we think we're getting close to that window where we can win. And we're going to do whatever it takes to open that window full blast and go for it. And as much as I don't like the Flyers, being a Penguins fan, if you're a Flyers fan, that's fantastic news to know that your GM is not going to leave any stone unturned. And I was reading, I forget where I read it. I think it was someone on Twitter, I believe, that said, the way the system is set up now with their coaching staff, it is a system that's not going to, they're not going to like bottom way out. If they would have a bad year, it'll just be a slightly bad year, not like hey, we got to rebuild this whole thing bad year. So I think the Flyers have put themselves in a pretty good position now. In Pittsburgh, that's the running joke. Have you seen the Flyers win the Stanley Cup? Because it's been a long, 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 long time. But I do think Briere's doing the right thing. I think it was a smart move. And that brings me to the Penguins. Are they gonna be able to put something together that pries Jason Robertson out of Dallas? That's another situation that, again, I don't quite understand. I was reading that a lot of people think maybe he'll just go ahead and take Dallas's, get the 1-year deal and then become a free agent next year, and he'll have, all kinds of suitors. I guess he wants to play with his brother, so the Pens would have to probably figure something out there. Now, the Pens did sign Igor Chinakhov, and I said that was a must. He was one of Dubas's best pickups, got him basically for a song and a dance from Columbus, and he was fantastic for them. He's young. He's got some speed, which they need. They need some speed guys. So we'll see if the Pens are going to make a move. Now, the Flyers move didn't pan out, but Briere sort of, made it. No, look, we're going to go for it here. We're going to do what we need to do. I think the new owners in Pittsburgh want Dubas to do that. It is hard for him. I've said it 85 million times. Trying to fluctuate between, look, we do need to rebuild a little bit yet, but we want to try and win while Crosby's still here, and Malkin and Letang. Um, he did hint, I think it was Dubas that hinted at, um, it's not absolutely positive that the big three would stay together. Now, Sidney Crosby's not going anywhere. Um, but if like, let's say they want to make a big trade, and maybe someone wants Letang or Malkin included. Doesn't sound like that's off the table at this point. So we'll see. We'll see. But it's been an interesting offseason for the NHL. Flyers took that big swing. And the Pens are kind of, we're not sure what's going on. I heard Connor Bedard's name thrown out there, that maybe get him out of Chicago. And I guess he's an offer sheet guy. I don't know. I don't understand all of it, but we'll see. I like the Chinnikov move. I'll tell you the other thing the Flyers did, locking up Vladar, the goalie, for 5 years. Again, another sign that said we found the guy we like, and we're locking him in here. So Flyer fans should be happy with the direction of that team right now under Daniel Briere. All right, some other stuff. So college hoops, just one thing that kind of flew under my radar a little bit, but I noticed it. A judge ruled in favor of players that came into college in 2022. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 would be their 26, 27 would be their fifth year. But the NCAA instituted this 5 to play, what was it, 5 to play 4 rule. And the judge said, nah, you can't, that group, I don't know why, I don't know what it is about the 2022 group, other than this would be their 5th year. I guess that's why it's the 2022 group. But once again, I said it on my Wall to Wall podcast this week that I saw the numbers for the NIL where they're checking off the NIL and the NIL deals they didn't allow. It's no wonder they need Congress to try and help them out, because it seems like every judge under the sun is ruling in the players' favor. Now, when they're trying to stifle the players from earning money, I understand why judges are going to rule in favor of the players. But in this case, this is life. You get 4 years in college, or you might need a 5th year. And regular students sometimes need a 5th year extra credits, or a class that didn't work their way and they have to, make it up, or, so everyone, the 5th year, I get it. But you don't get to play college sports forever. But this judge says, well, these guys should have a chance to play that 5th year, under the old way it was, and that this new rule is limiting their opportunities. Well, yeah, it's limiting their opportunities and allowing the next wave of players to come in and get their chance to play their 4 years. I don't understand it. I don't understand why a judge would. Well, I mean, look, I'm no legal expert by any stretch, not a law scholar. So maybe there is legal findings. I would hope so. I hope these judges aren't making rulings on a whim or on how they feel. I would hope there's some type of legal backing that says, hey, you can't prevent these kids from getting that 5th year. I don't know, but the one thing that's happened in the last 4 months here with all this wrangling in Congress and whatnot is that 5-year window, so that we don't have 27 and 28-year-olds playing college sports. So I happened to glance and see that the other day, and I just wanted to make mention of. I think it's ridiculous, but once again, the players get their way. The NBA has now become LeBron watch. Where's LeBron going to play next year? My question is, who cares? Isn't he going to be 43? Is 43 years old? Hey, look, he can still play a little. but is this really where we're at in the NBA? That's what we care where where's LeBron going to play? First of all, I think he's going to play in Philadelphia. I think that Jalen Brown move was the first move of two. Um, and bring LeBron in and put him into the mix. He'd have veterans. He'd get to play with Jalen Brown. He'd also have some younger guys in Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe that he could tutor. I'm not sure if you want LeBron tutoring anyone, but my question would be: I wonder how he would get along under a full season. In a full season with Joel Embiid. Um, Anyway, I think that's where he's going to end up, and more reason to not pay attention to the Sixers. First, they get the Celtics cast off Jalen Brown. And by the way, I said last week, I don't think it's going to, including getting LeBron, is not going to push them to win a championship. And that's what LeBron, I think, wants to go somewhere. I don't know that. I saw Cleveland was mentioned, but they got James Harden already clogging up cap space there. So I forget, there were 3 or 4 other spots I saw, the potential landing spots, but I think it's going to end up being Philly. And I think I don't think it'll help Philly one bit. Scotty Scheffler missed a cut. He had made 78 consecutive cuts. Showing Tiger Woods was, what was it, 169 cuts or some ridiculous number that'll never be matched. Scheffler has just, and I saw the other day, he still made, not, this isn't endorsements, this is just winnings, something like $11 million already this year, and he's having a down year. How about that? Hey, what'd you do? Well, I didn't have a very good year. Oh man, it's didn't make a whole lot of money. Yeah, I only made 11 million. So that's a pretty good down year. But he hasn't been able to find his swing consistently. That putter's let him down more often than not. And he had gone to that mallet putter, which allowed me to go to a mallet putter because I used the theory, if it was good enough for Scotty Scheffler, it could be good enough for me. Um, but he just, for whatever reason, hasn't found it. But they're at the Scottish Open, which is kind of neat. It's the lead into the British Open, and it allows these guys to be in a very competitive environment in links conditions. Um, so it'll be fun to watch on CBS this weekend. But you will not see Scotty Scheffler there. You will not see Ludwig Oberg, who was with Scheffler at 1 under. When 1 under misses the cut, I mean, the guys are playing pretty good, to have 1 under miss the cut. But that'll give those guys a chance maybe to go up to Royal Birkdale, where the Open's going to be, and get some practice in and work on their game a little bit. So it might not be the worst thing in the world for that to have happened. So, all right, let's jump into the time machine. And I remember my 8 tracks. I brought the whole case of them. So let's see if I can find what's in the old 8 track here and rev it up. Rupert Holmes, Escape. I'm going to escape next week to the beach. That's why I chose that song this week on the old 8 track player. Um, Kind of mean lyrics when you get down to it. I don't know if when I was a kid listening to that song, if I remembered or even really thought about it, but Rupert, not very nice to his lady, getting rid of the lady. But anyway, let's go back and look at the last. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times they've played the British Open. I guess we're just supposed to say Open, the Open, at Royal Birkdale. Peter Thompson won it twice in 54 and 65. He was a good player back in those days. Not as widely known as some of the other names, but a good player. And in between in 61, Arnold Palmer won it. And the scores were under par, so it's not an impossible course. Lee Trevino won it in 1971. That was my guy when I was a little kid and started watching golf. My dad never golfed, but he'd throw golf on the TV because I think it was a sport, and so we watched sports, and that's what we did. Johnny Miller in 1976. So you're seeing some, Arnie, Lee Trevino, Johnny Miller. 1983, Tom Watson won it at Royal Birkdale. So some really good players. Now, 91 was Ian Baker Finch. Not a bad player, but his career kind of fizzled. Actually probably been more known for his being an announcer on the CBS crew, but he really. I was watching a clip from 91 when Finch won it, and he hit a shot right at the flagstick. And as it's in the air, he's saying to his caddy, "How do you like that one? How do you like that one?" And I can't think of his caddy's name, but he's like, "How do you like that one?" And plop it, lands and rolls back a little bit. But he was confident that week at Royal Birkdale, and he was able to kind of pull away and win that. 98, Marco Mira. Marco Mira, one of the golfers that's come to Lewistown, my hometown, to the country club. I think Toyota had a deal, and we had a Toyota guy that was a part of the club at the time. Greg Norman, Chai Rodriguez, I should say, was there, and Marco Mira made an appearance the one year. He won at Royal Birkdale in 1998. Padraig Harrington, who's still kind of kicking around a little bit, playing the seniors and stuff in 2008. And then 2017. I think this guy is such a favorite. I think, first of all, because when there's a hot mic out on the course, often it will pick up Jordan Spieth, is who I'm talking about, yelling at his caddy or blurting out a bad word like we all do when we're out there playing, other than we don't have a caddy to yell at. But I think we can all relate to Jordan Spieth. So in 2017, he hits a ball in 13 where I was reading an article this morning. He won't be able to play from there if he would hit it in the same spot this week, or I'm sorry, next week, because they have a hospitality tent up. Because now there's more each time you go, there's more and more sponsors, and I think it's a MasterCard or one of the credit cards has a tent set up there. But he hit his ball so offline, and if you remember, if you're a golf fan, remember this, he was looking for where can I drop? Where can I drop? And he searched. He was in the parking lot, if I remember correctly, at one point, trying to find the best place to stay. Anyway, long story short, he manages to salvage a bogey. And then 14 birdie, 15 eagle, 16 birdie, 17 birdie. And by the time he got to 18, it was all she wrote, unless he hit it in the parking lot again. But isn't that that's a typical Jordan Spieth? We haven't seen him in the winner's circle much lately. But in 2017, that was so Jordan Spieth-like, to be completely off the radar on hole 13 and somehow managed to squeak out a bogey and then just rip it for the next 4 holes. And ended up winning the British Open. And that was the last time it was at Royal Birkdale. So jumping out of the time machine to this year, I like so there are two favorites, Scheffler and McIlroy. Scheffler slightly above McIlroy. I would give Rory a better chance to win than Scheffler. I just don't like Scheffler's game right now. Um, I don't trust him. It's hard to believe I'm saying that and leave it to him to be like him. He's defending champ, by the way, to shove it down my throat and win this week. But I don't trust his game enough. Rory, I think you know grew up with Lynx golf. Like he'll play well over there, I would think. Um, but I think the three names I'm looking at here, Ludwig Oberg, who I said missed a cut, and I haven't picked him in a while. So I was like, dude, I'm telling you, this kid's going to win majors. I'm not sure when, but he won't be flustered by anything over there, Lynx style and all that. He's 25 to 1, so you can get a pretty good uh, playback on him if you're the betting sort. I like Tommy Fleetwood at 16 to 1. I think Tommy Fleetwood's ready to win a big one. I know he won the FedEx, and that was cool after he'd been choking and choking and choking. I think he might be ready to win a big one, and winning over there would be cool for him. And I think Cam Young is the other guy I could say the exact same thing about. I think he's ready to win a big one. He is so steady. And I just think, he's going to win a major at some point as well. And I think this could be a week for him just because of his steadiness on the link style courses. And you don't know about the weather and all that. If you like a long shot, you want to say, hey, I'm going to put a couple of bucks on someone that's a long shot. How about Corey Connors at 100 to 1? Connors, if you watched him at the US Open, how many putts did he miss from like 5 feet or in? Like he was hitting the ball right, and he just couldn't make those putts. And then was it the next? I think it was the next week because that was one of those elevated events. Um, and he was right there again. He missed some putts. The putting won't be as big an issue over there. The greens won't be lightning fast. At least I don't think so. Usually the conditions don't allow for them. It might be a little bumpy here and there, but and you want to throw a couple of bucks at a long shot. Corey Connors might be a name to think about. So uh, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure I've just jinxed Oberg. Every time I picked him last year, he didn't do anything. He played well at some of the events. He's played well sporadically this year. I would refer to it as. So I think if you're going with a favorite, I'd go McIlroy. I don't think Rom either, although Rom's played. Of those live guys, DeChambeau's another one I don't trust right now. I don't trust him. Now, Link style, if he's all over the place, you still can get away with that somewhat, on at least on some of the holes. But I just don't trust his game enough. So Joaquin Neiman would be another live name that maybe you want to keep an eye on. That's been playing well this summer. Um, but I like McIlroy if you're picking a favorite, Oberg, Fleetwood, Cam Young if you're in that sort of the middle range, and if you want a long shot, get bang for your buck, go Corey Connors. All right, Major League Baseball. The All-Star game is coming up beginning of next week in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper going to be in the Home Run Derby. I think that's cool. Hometown guy to be in the Derby. He won it once before, if I'm remembering correctly. So that'll be neat, and that's a home run park like that. The home run derby might be fun to watch this year. It should be a lot of bombs going out of there. I didn't even see who else has signed up so far for it. My beef with the All Star game, and this is another thing I had in my column here at Penn Sports this week. I think I didn't. I only had the only beef I had really with the selection. Paul Skeens should not have been on the All Star team. You want to talk about just picking names? And I think didn't he get the players? I think he got in on a players vote. And are these the same players that told John Parado when he wrote his column last week, without naming their names, that they see him as more hittable this year, and blah blah blah, and then they go ahead and vote him into the to the All-Star game. He's not an All-Star this year. I don't like his attitude this year. I don't like how he conducts his interviews. I just think I don't know. He said, "Oh, he's not going to pitch because he pitches Sunday for the Pirates," and I'll get to that in a minute. Um, so he's not going to pitch in the All Star game. But he said, "Oh, it'd be cool to go hang out with the boys." Oh yeah, the boys. Um, like you deserve to be there. He's just rubbing me the wrong way. He won his last outing finally, and it wasn't a good outing. They're like, "Oh, I think he's back." You think he's back? He gave up 8 hits over 6 innings, only struck out 4, gave up 2 runs, didn't improve his ERA, and it was nice to see him go 6 instead of 5. And he said, "Well, there's been a lot of soft contact off of me lately." There's always excuses: soft contact, bad defense, which there is bad defense. But anyway, that was my beef. Now, I said in my column, I think they should increase the roster sizes by 5 and make the players understand I may not be able to get everybody in. Because it would be nice if they played the game. It's nice to get everyone in, and so fans, can see their guy play. But I'd love for it to go back, and you don't have to make it mean anything like home field advantage, but play it like it's an actual game, like you want to win. Like, hey, we're the National League. We want to beat those guys. I think interleague play kind of ruined that all to begin with, because now it's just kind of everyone's bunched together. But I thought Brandon Lau certainly was 63 RBIs, 21 home runs. Average isn't great, but 21 and 63 at the All-Star break, and there's still a weekend left to play, is All-Star worthy. I thought Brian Reynolds was All-Star worthy. I'm just looking at Pirates for the record, if you're asking why I'm naming Pirates. They did put Braxton Ashcraft in late as a replacement for somebody. He should have been in ahead of Paul Skeens. He has been the ace of the Pirates staff this year. So, but I think why I said increase the roster. I don't have. First of all, if you're going to let the fans vote, and I think you should, that was always part of the fun. Go to the ballpark and poke the holes. And I know it's probably computerized now, and they let I think they've limited that you can only vote like 5 times, not like 8 million times. So you have to. You let the fans vote. So you could have argued that Brandon Lau should have been in over Albies, who got the fan vote from the Braves. But I didn't really have a problem. Same with Reynolds. I mean, the outfielders they selected were all-star worthy. But I think those 2 guys were too. So if you increase the roster by 5 and just say, "Look, fellas, we're gonna play this like a game, and we'll see who I can get in, and who, yeah." But there's no guarantee. As Skeen said, I think it's just nice to be recognized. That's Zach Wheeler's is ticked off for the Phillies. He said, I think if I didn't. He said, if I didn't think I've earned it, then I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you. But I think I've earned it. And yeah, he said, to use his word, he said, "I'm pissed. I think I'm an all-star, and I think I should have been there." And I think that's it. He said, "I'd like to be recognized." And I think I don't care what profession you're in. I think it's nice if you do a really good job, or, for me as a teacher, my day job, as I always call it, if I roll out a really cool lesson, it's nice if someone comes up and say, "Man, that was neat." We all like that recognition. Hey, you did a good job with that. So I think that's so if you increase the roster size by 5 and just say, well, you guys might not get in. But they would get recognized, and it would say beside their name All-Star, because they've earned it. Now, I'm not saying just give it to people that haven't earned it, but Brandon Lau and Brian Reynolds, and I'm sure there's players on other teams around the league that have that same argument. So anyway, going around baseball, we're at the All-Star break, so let's look at each division a little bit here. The American League East, the Rays are suddenly back up by 4 games. The Yankees have hit the skids. Aaron Boone's getting thrown out of games left and right. I love Booney. I hate the Yankees, but I love that he gets thrown out of games on a regular basis. And yet I think the umpires still all like him, so I love that. The Red Sox are surging, and this is going to be a familiar theme here as I continue on. around the league, especially in the American League. I've wanted the Pirates to trade for Aroldis Chapman for about a month and a half now. And it might be a case where they should have tried to swing a deal a month and a half ago, because nobody's out of it in the American League right now, other than Kansas City and Anaheim, and the A's are starting to drift that way. But I think every other team, Baltimore's probably doesn't consider themselves in it. But because of the Blue Jays roster, I think they're still going to try and go for it. And now the Red Sox, look at all the money they pump into that roster. Now they look and say, well, you know what? What are they? 2.5, 3 games out of the wild card? Are they really going to trade their closer? Now there's still 3 weeks left. 2.5. Well, yeah, 3 weeks. 3 weeks left. This is July 10th. 3:30 p.m. to be exact. So 3 weeks, maybe things change. But if today were the trade deadline, I don't know that Boston be looking to move people because they're kind of in it again. In the AL Central, the White Sox are hanging in. This is a bad division, but it's not the worst of the divisions. I'm getting to that in a second. Twins are still alive. The Fighting Derek Sheltons are still alive. I didn't think they would be. I said I thought maybe it would be their time to say, you know what, let's blow this thing up. Let's trade Buxton and get a mint for him. Trade Joe Ryan, the pitcher. Now I don't know. Everything. Go look. If you haven't looked at the standings in baseball lately, go look at them. The American League. First of all, you might throw up in your mouth a little bit when you look at the American League standings. But other than those two teams I mentioned, maybe three, Baltimore, no one's out of it. And so I don't know what to make of it. And Detroit is surging. So I think they were going to, and they might still do it, trade Tarek Skubal again to try and get a big return for him, because they're worried that they're not going to be able to sign him long term. He got that big arbitration settlement, but so Detroit's probably now all of a sudden saying, let's see if we're hanging around here. Now the American League West is just putrid. The Rangers, Mariners, and Astros are all in it. The only one with a plus run differential is Seattle, and I still think they're the favorite to win that division. I think if anyone's going to pull away, and when I say pull away, I only mean like maybe 5-6 games, it would be Seattle. I don't know that the other two teams are good enough with their current makeup, although I think Houston has enough bats. I don't know that they have enough arms, though, to jump out a little bit. Over to the National League in the East, are the Marlins for real? Am I supposed to believe in the Miami Marlins? They are tied for second place with the Phillies. They're only 3 games behind the Braves and are easily the hottest team in baseball right now. Far hotter than either the Braves and the Phillies, who are both kind of treading water the last 10, 12, 14 games. And the Marlins they're just coming, man. And so there's another one. Do I think they wanted to trade Sandy Alcantara? Yeah, I think probably they did. How can you do that now? How can you look at your fan base and say, we're going to trade our former stud who's still pitching pretty well for us, when we're in the midst of trying to run down the Braves? I don't think they can. So that's become an interesting division. The Phillies are still a -9 run differential. I don't know. Philly fans, don't yell at me. I don't know what to make of your guys. Your top 3 pitchers are studs because Luzardo for the first 2 months of the season was kind of on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. He's been on again for about the last month and a half. And throw him in with now Christopher Sanchez got lit up against Kansas City. Now, there was a play they could have ruled an error that would have helped his ERA a little bit. His ERA skyrocketed. I can't believe it. He's 2.62 the last I checked. That's still pretty good. And then Zach Wheeler is lights out as usual. But that 4-starter, Aaron Nola, is done, capital D, done. And the fifth starter, I don't even know who. They got this kid that they've been trying, and Painter went back to the minors, and it's almost like they don't have a fifth starter. Um, Now, there's a lot of teams in that same boat, really, but I think the Phillies are going to be active, looking for a starter because I said it last week. When they get to the playoffs, they're going to be fine with that top three, but you got to get there. No, I think they will, but it's a rocky road, and their bullpen's not very good until you get to the closer. But you got to get to the closer. Alvarado's got like an 8 ERA or a 7 ERA, something like that. Banks got lit up the other day. Um, they don't have a very good bullpen at all. They're going to be active looking for bullpen as well. You get to Duran or Duran, however you say his name. That's then game over. But you got to get there. The NL Central it's the Brewers, and then it's a matter of who's going to finish second. Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates all could finish second. Um, I think if you finish second, you're going to make the playoffs. So it's kind of interesting from a Pirates standpoint. And I'm going to get to them in my rant section. Spicoli's off his July 4th bender, so I got him ready to go. Um, but I think second place, now conventional wisdom would say the Cubs are clearly the best team there. But, I'm telling you, watch the Cubs and look at their numbers, look at their stats. Are they like their pitching staff? I know they spent more money than the Cardinals and Pirates, but I don't know that they're that much better. They are 3 games up on the Cardinals and 4 up on the Pirates, or 5 up on the Pirates. But I think that's the battle. But the Brewers are going to win the division, and that's a battle for second place. Reds out of it. And the NL West is the Dodgers and then pure garbage. And I can't believe I'm saying that about the Padres when I look at that roster. And it's like all those guys hit the skids at once. Now, you can argue Machado's getting old, but Tatis isn't getting old. The center fielder that I continue to never be able to remember his name is not old. Um, they've got a light. Mason Miller is probably the best closer. Well, he is the best closer in baseball. But again, having a great closer, if you can't get to him with a lead, is useless. Not that does not mean I think they're trading Mason Miller, but I still think the Padres will get a hot streak and squeak into the playoffs. But each passing week makes me think that less and less. It's not good for them. They're not. It's not a good team right now. And the Diamondbacks, and then the Giants and Rockies are dreadful. But we'll see. All right, let me get Spicoli.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
Well, Spicoli, once again, the Pittsburgh Pirates are my problem, as always. So, knock my camera over. Where do I want to start with this? So the Pirates are 500 again, and they were 2 games above 500. This week has been the epitome, and it's only Friday, so we've got a whole weekend to go. This has been the epitome of being a Pirates fan. So they split with the Phillies, which was nice, and then they take 2 of 3 in Washington, who's a pretty good team, good offense, and so that was nice. So a 4-3 road trip was good. They then come home, and Ryan O'Hearn has 3 home runs and 10 RBIs in a single game in the first game against Atlanta on Tuesday. And that just epitomizes this is the best Pirates offense in the last 100 years. So I'm biased. I grew up with Willie Stargell, Dave Parker, Bill Robinson, Mike Easler, that crew. Bill Madlock, Phil Garner got added, later in the 70s. I'm biased towards them. But if you just look straight numbers, you've got O'Hearn, 16 homers now and 60 RBIs. Lau, 21 and 63. O'Neal Cruz, bless his heart, finally had figured things out and was having the kind of year that we've always wanted him to have. And then he breaks his hand and won't be back until after the All-Star break. He was hitting great. They call this 22-year-old kid up, Esmeralyn Valdez, who was in their rankings, prospect rankings, but certainly no one expected this. And he even got cold this week. But yesterday he hit a home run and I think had a single or a double. He, even cooling off, he's been unbelievable in his first like 80 at bats here in the major leagues. Jake Mangum has been the spark plug I predicted he would be, and then I went off my prediction because he was terrible in the first month, but now he's figured it out. I wish he wouldn't do stupid stuff on the bases all the time. But man, when Cruz comes back, they got to find a way. Well, here's one thing. Can we please end the Marcell Ozuna? All he does is sit in the dugout. He played once in the last week and a half. He got 4 at bats in the last week and a half. And look, I'll give the guy credit. He actually hit the ball hard a couple of those times, and I think he had a hit on one of those. It's hard to stay fresh when you're not getting any at bats. Let him go. What's the difference if you say, well, we release him? Oh, geez, we're wasting that money we spent on. Well, you're wasting it now. But this is Bob Nutting and Ben Cherington to a T. Just dopey and dopier. You're wasting the money one way or the other. So why not get rid of him so that now you can have Mangum? I know he's not a traditional DH, and you can also alternate, like Cruz can DH, then play center, then DH, then play center, and Mangum could be the opposite guy. But Mangum, he walks or gets hit by a pitch and he flips his bat and he starts clapping. He reminds me of a poor man's Pete Rose. Pete Rose used to do stuff, and you knew the other team hated. He'd sprint down the first base when he got walked, and he'd clap, and he'd, bowl over people. Like Jake Mangum plays with a Pete Rose energy, and it has to annoy the living, what, out of his opponents. So the offense has just really, the only bad game the offense has had in the last while is the game that Jared Jones pitched 6 perfect innings and they couldn't get him a single solitary run. And then, go figure, the bullpen blew the game. So Ryan O'Hearn's Day Monday just made me realize how great this offense. Endy Rodriguez deserves a shout out. Connor Griffin's hurt. If Connor Griffin wouldn't have spent half his season now, because he's not coming back till September, on the IR, he would have been at least in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Watch his swing. When September comes and there's nothing else to pay attention to because the Pirates will probably be out of it, watch Connor Griffin take at bats. I don't care if he gets a hit. Just watch him swing the bat. He's going to be a star. And Nick Gonzalez has been hitting 300. So the offense has been really, really good. Brian Reynolds, I think I forgot to mention him, has had an all-star year. And that's so the O'Hearn game, and you're pumped up, and yes, that's awesome. And now they're 5-3 in their last 8 games. And then Jared Jones comes out, 6 perfect innings. Oh, we have him on a pitch count because he's coming off his injury. I don't know. He was throwing 98 in the 6th inning. I also know that he's not going to pitch again before the All-Star break. So he would have an extended break. So pitching him another inning, or at least until he loses his perfect game, would not have done him irreparable damage. But it's modern baseball, and we had him on a pitch count. And Don Kelly said after the game, I didn't even want to put him back out there for the 6th inning. Jones wanted to go back out. Now, he said all the right things in the postgame. So they take him out. The Pirates haven't scored any runs. We get down to late in the game. It's still 0-0. And we put Dennis Santana in the game. And this is really where my rant is intended. I said back in spring training, I think close to my exact words, it is laughable to go into a season thinking Dennis Santana is your closer. Oh, but Tim, look how well he did after they traded David Bednar. Yeah, he got a handful of saves. I could get a save or two just by sheer luck. Did you go back and watch any of those games? Go back and watch them. in the Twitterverse or the YouTube verse somewhere. He got hit hard, but he got lucky a lot of games. They were hit at people and whatever. There was nothing about him. Now, I will admit, he did strike out some people along the way, which he no longer does, hardly at all. But there was nothing by his performance last year, if you really looked at it, that said, well, this guy's a closer. And so for Ben Cherington, he did such good work, and I will give him, every dog gets their due. That trade with Tampa via Houston, where they got rid of Mike Burrows, who's now in AAA at Houston, to get Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, and Montgomery, who's still throwing 98 to 101, and I don't understand why his ERA is what it is. Anyway, so I give Ben Cherington credit, but for him to just stop, hey, we got the offense, and I know the starting pitching is going to be good. The bullpen will be good enough. No, and then, we picked up Gregory Soto. Big deal. Have you seen him lately? And I mean this back in spring training. He didn't come in with some all-star caliber resume. And so that's going to be your 8 and 9 inning guys. Gregory Soto and Dennis Santana. And so then the first couple of weeks of the season, it was fine. Okay, maybe Tim was wrong. And then it blew up, and it blew up big. Now, Soto managed to stay decent for a little while longer and became the closer, but now he's blown up. And so up until this week, I have not criticized Don Kelly. And while everyone else was criticizing him, I don't think he's the guy that says pitchers have to come out at such and such pitch. I think that's the GM via the owner who says, those are my investments. I don't want them getting hurt. So I don't think Donnie Kelly has a whole lot of say in, the pitch count situation. As far as the bullpen goes, it's eeny, meeny, miny, mo for him. You stink, you stink, you stink, you stink. You've been okay a little bit. You've been sort of okay, and you stink. Like, that's what he's looking at when he goes to the bullpen. So I have not criticized him. So we get down to Dennis Santana in that game that Jones pitched 6 perfect innings, and he lobbed, and I do mean lobbed because he's throwing batting practice. He has been all season long. And again, if you really dive into last year, he got hit hard last year too a lot. But he lobs up a meatball, and it gets hit out of the park, and they lose the game. Now, the offense didn't score any runs, so that was going to be hard to win that game anyway. So that brings us to Thursday night, afternoon game. Sorry, Thursday afternoon. So the Pirates claw back. Mitch Keller, who's another. I'll get to the starting pitching here in a minute. Mitch has got to go. And that hurts me to say it because he's always been one of my favorite Pirates, but he's got to go. So the Pirates claw back at 6. They're down 6-5. So this is a winnable game. And he's got left-handers coming up. Yastrzemski, who ends up being the guy that kills him. It's 6-5. They load the bases on who? Dennis freaking Santana, for the second day in a row, is in a high leverage situation. He had Soto only threw 11 pitches, and he didn't bring him back out to face these lefties. Montgomery was warming up in the bullpen. I don't know, apparently just to get a little toss in. Maybe his dad showed up and was in the bullpen and they were playing catch. I don't know. So he's got 2 lefties he could have had in there against these left-handers. Nope. I'm going back to Dennis Santana. And what was Donnie Kelly's excuse? Well, I know we have a big series this weekend with the Brewers, and I was trying to work it out so that we'd have certain guys available for that Brewers series. Oh, so the game against the Brewers means more in the standings than the game against the Braves? Someone inform him that every game counts as one, and it doesn't really matter who you're playing. So we get to watch Dennis Santana throw another meatball up to Yastrzemski, and he hits it for a grand slam, and all of a sudden it's 10-5, and the game is over. Now, maybe the Pirates don't score. They didn't, but if it's still 6-5, ninth inning, maybe they don't score again. But you're not going to take a shot at trying to win that game at 6-5. If it was 16-5, okay. But it was 6-5, and you're not going to try and win that game because you're planning for tomorrow? Dennis Santana needs to be cut. I mean, stat right now. Cut him. He's done. You can see the look on his face. He knows he's done. As soon as that guy Yastrzemski's bat hit the ball, you could see him sag, and he looked on his face. I mean, as a human being, I feel bad for him. Obviously, he's not trying to do that, but he's done. I don't care. Now, I did see they're bringing two guys up. Harrington, who did look terrible when he was up here before, and Kelly, who got a cup of coffee earlier. But Santana's still here. They sent Cam Sanders down, thank God. Um, at least shuffle the decks on the ship, the deck chairs. At least try someone different. And if they get shelled, I don't know, try this guy. Keep rolling new guys in until your loser GM makes a move to get you some help. But by the time he does that, you're going to be out of it, and it won't matter. And that brings me to the starters, which is part of the reason the bullpen has been exposed. Mitch Keller's finished. Mitch Keller is the Pirates' version of Aaron Nola. Their velocity is down, and he cannot get guys out. Like I said, it pains me. He's always been one of my favorite guys, but that velocity ain't coming back, and he can't get guys out. They have Majinski in the bullpen. By the way, there's another one. They bring him in to pitch 2 or 3 innings because I'm convinced it's because that's the deal they made with him. We're going to keep throwing you long amounts of innings because eventually we'll move you back into the rotation. And maybe they should. He wasn't great in the rotation, but he'd be better than Mitch Keller by far. So it's time to cut bait with Mitch Keller. Jones is obviously always going to be on a pitch count this year, so you're only ever going to get – it was a miracle they let him in there for 6 innings, but he was super efficient, and hopefully he continues to do that. Fill the strike zone up. You've got good stuff. Some nights they're going to hit it, and so what? That's okay. It's a bad night. But a lot of nights they're not going to hit it. Now, you're not going to pitch a perfect 6 innings all the time, but fill the strike zone up. And then pass that message along to Bubba Chandler, who also has good stuff, but throws too many balls, way too many balls. But the starting pitching, maybe next year they'll be ready, but they weren't quite ready for prime time. And then Paul Skeens craps the bed. And I'm sorry, he is. He craps the bed because that's not what you need from him. That's not what you need from Paul Skeens in the least. And then Mitch Keller hitting the skids leaves you with Braxton Ashcraft, who's been a stud. So the starters' inability to pitch to what we thought they would has exposed a very bad bullpen, and it leads to being 500, even though you have maybe the best offense or one of the top 3 for sure offenses in all of baseball because your pitching has let you down. So, all right. On to the random off-topic topic. I am headed to the beach, and I need a little bit of a break. I don't know how many of you have dealt with an elderly parent. My mom is at 94 and a half years of age, and she is dealing with a little bit of dementia, probably more than a little bit. I'm trying to be nice about it. It's a little bit more than a little. And it's affected her mobility. She's struggling. We got her a walker, which she doesn't want to use. The doctor said, "Hey, you should use some oxygen." So we, got the people to bring oxygen in. She doesn't want to use it. Now, when I'm over there, I make her use both. But it's rough. She, in the last couple of weeks, has become very dependent. And my sister and I are looking at some home care, which she doesn't want, because we promised her we'd do everything we could to keep her out of a nursing home. And she knows where she's at. She keeps hoping she'll get a little bit better, but this is a one-way street. Any of you that have dealt with dementia patients, you know this. It's a one-way street. So, but I go over in the morning because she was always good about taking her morning medicine. She was pretty sharp this morning. She was with it, although she was she had the TV remote in her hand, and then she realized it. She's, "Oh, this isn't the phone." She gets the remote and the phone confused sometimes. But I try to get her set up for the day in the morning because I'm off in the summers, and then I go over at supper time, to make sure she has supper and get her evening pills, and we hang out. We go out on the back porch, and which is good for her to get some sunlight. Um, and then now lately I've been going over at bedtime, and my sister lives 30 miles away, so she can get up, but it's, I don't, and it's a road where there's a ton of deer at night, and I'd feel awful if she plowed into a deer coming up to take care of my mom at night when I'm right here in town. So I go over at bedtime because she can do everything, but her legs have weakened to the point where she can't quite swing them into the bed. So I make sure she gets into bed, and everything gets locked up and so forth. So it's rough if you've ever had to deal with that, but it is what it is. And I try to, make her laugh a little bit, and we still have some good conversations. It's not that we don't do that, but it's hard. So next week I'm headed to the Jersey Shore with my son. I don't know that my son's going to go again. Actually, he said, "Dad, I told you last year was my last year." He told me that I don't take risks. Um, the Jersey Shore, since I've been taking him, and it's where I went when I was a kid. My parents always took us to Ocean City, New Jersey, and as soon as when he was 5, I decided he was old enough. I said to my mom and dad, I remember saying, I said, "I'm taking him down to Ocean City for a few days," and he loved it. More importantly, I loved it, and so a few days became a week shortly thereafter. And then when he got just a little bit older, about, I guess, 8 or 9, hey, like Wildwood has all these amusement piers. Do you want to go down there for a day? So the day we were headed home, instead of going straight home, we headed down to Wildwood and spent, about half a day, and loved it. And I hadn't been to Wildwood since I was in high school. We took a band trip there once, and the only thing I can remember, I knew we played mini golf up on the roof of the one building, and that's gone between then and now. But so then it became, let's do. We'll spend 3 nights in Ocean City, and then we'll do 3 nights in Wildwood, and basically spend a week. And that's what it was then for a while. And then we just started. It became cheaper to stay in Wildwood and drive up to Ocean City, because Ocean City is a little bit more for younger kids. And as Ian became a teenager, it wasn't quite as fun. Now, Dad wants to play mini golf. Ian could take mini golf or leave it. And I like going around. Ocean City's town is beautiful, and they've got all kinds of shops that are really neat. There's a Christmas shop. I'm a big Christmas guy, so that's what we started doing. And then last year I said, well, let's just go. We'll go back to only doing 4 days. And he was kind of tired out by the fourth day, because back to my original point, he said, "Dad, you don't take risks. I'd like to go different places. Like, why can't we go to Rehoboth, or at least, somewhere different like that?" And I was like, "I don't know, Ian. I just like the Jersey Shore's become home away from home for a week." Um, so I said to him, "How about if we just do 3 days? And then on the fourth day, we'll stay for like half a day, and then, come home that evening." And sort of reluctantly, he agreed to it. And I think he knows it's been a bit of a long summer dealing with my mom. And so my sister's going to take my duties next week. She planned some vacation days so that she's going to be around to get up there. But so Ian and I are going back to the Jersey Shore. I'm not saying it's the last time I will be at the Jersey Shore. I don't know. I'm hoping someday he has a family, and maybe he'll allow me to take his kids to the Jersey Shore with him as well, and his wife. So that's a hope for the future, but that's in the future. He's got a few steps to cover before finish school, find the right girl, and all that good stuff. But this might be the last father son Jersey Shore excursion. He's going to be 21 in August. Then he'll say, "Well, let's go to Atlantic City. I can go into casinos now." And I got to stay out of the casinos. I don't need to be in a casino. Trust me. I I have a very bad habit of spending and spending and spending until, because I'm always going to win the next one. So I don't know that I want to do that with him. But anyway, it'll be nice to get down there. Looks like at least one of our days is going to be super hot. It's going to be super hot here in Pennsylvania that day too. Um, but doesn't look like there's any rain in the forecast right now, at least. So can't wait to get down there. I love it. I'm like a little kid. I was just talking to my walking buddy last night, and I said, "Man, Mark," I said, "I am like a little kid." And he said, "Oh, I am too." He said, "I go to all the amusement piers when I go to the beach and ride the rides." I said, "Well, I'm not. I get sick on the rides, but I said I'll be in the Mariners Arcade. Heads up." I'm coming next week. I'll be dragging a 20-year-old with me and see if they have any cool helmets. That's where I got all my signed helmets down at Mariners Arcade. And I have a blast playing the games. And so does Ian, for the record. He might not let on, but he likes it too. So can't wait to get down there. So I may or may not tape a. I'm definitely not taping wall to wall next week. I'm gonna take a break. I doubt that I'm gonna tape my musings, but if I get bored when I get home late in the week from the beach, but I got to get back, to checking on mom a little bit there. So when I get back, but we'll see. But if not, certainly I will be back the following week. And good Lord, by that point we'll be headed towards late July. School will be starting in a month from then. Uh, anyway, such is life. So enjoy the British Open next week. Take or leave my picks. I haven't picked very well this year. I haven't picked any of the winners so far this year, but take or leave my picks. But enjoy that. Enjoy the All Star game. If you're, home run derby should be fun in Philly in that ballpark. Um, and whatever else, World Cuppers. I didn't even mention the U.S. out. Trump sticks his nose in and they lose. That seems to be his MO. I'm picking on him. I know. But I can't figure out why we're not better at soccer. Just in my tiny little community, kids are kicking soccer balls from the time they're like 3 years old, playing in these youth leagues and stuff. But I don't think we care enough about it because we have football. I think that's part of it. I think soccer's secondary for us. So anyway, but enjoy the World Cup. Get into the finals if you're a World Cupper, and stay out of the heat if it's hot where you live. But as always, the real rule: be nice to one another.